The Fortress of Solitude. Inside ADX Florence, deep in the heart of the Colorado Plains, lies a fortress of silence and despair, a prison that few people will ever see. Yet, its reputation looms large over the world of criminal justice. The United States Penitentiary Administrative Maximum Facility, or ADX Florence, is more than just a high-security prison. It is a monument to punishment, a place where the most dangerous and notorious criminals in America are isolated from society and from each other in ways that defy comprehension. Known as the Alcatraz of the Rockies, ADX Florence stands as the epitome of modern incarceration, its walls designed not just to contain the bodies of the incarcerated, but to break their spirits. This is a prison where time moves at a crawl, where the light outside never seems to touch the darkness inside, and where the isolation is so complete that the world outside becomes a distant memory. To understand the brutality of ADX Florence, one must first understand its origins. Located in the small town of Florence, Colorado, the prison was designed to hold the most dangerous inmates in the federal prison system. It opened in 1994, with the goal of providing a secure environment for the worst criminals in the United States, those whose actions had rendered them too dangerous to live in any other prison. The facility is known for housing some of the most infamous criminals in American history, including terrorists like the Boston Marathon bomber, Dzhokhar Tsarnaev, and the Unabomber, Ted Kaczynski. But ADX Florence is not just for terrorists, it is also home to mobsters, serial killers, drug kingpins, and former law enforcement officers whose crimes have shocked the nation. The strict rules governing life inside ADX Florence are designed to keep the inmates in a state of constant surveillance. Each cell is monitored by cameras, and guards are stationed in towers and on the ground, ready to respond to any disturbance. Movement is tightly controlled, with inmates rarely allowed to leave their cells except for meals, showers, and the occasional trip to the recreation area, where they are kept alone in enclosed cages for limited periods of time. Even then, they are under the watchful eyes of armed guards who ensure that no inmate comes into contact with another. The constant surveillance, the lack of privacy, the isolation from human interaction, these factors combine to create a sense of desolation and despair that is unimaginable to most. Yet, even in this grim landscape, the human spirit can persist, though often at great cost. Inmates who are sent to ADX Florence are subjected to a kind of psychological torment that goes far beyond the physical. The absence of human contact for years on end can cause irreversible damage, leading to symptoms of depression, anxiety, paranoia, and psychosis. It is not uncommon for inmates to lose track of time or to forget the faces of loved ones, as the isolation chips away at their memories and sense of identity. Some become so disoriented that they struggle to recognize their own reflection in the mirror, while others, overwhelmed by the monotony and the absence of any meaningful interaction, simply give up entirely, resigning themselves to the suffocating reality of their confinement. The men who find themselves behind the walls of ADX Florence often had no idea what they were walking into. For many, life before incarceration might have been filled with violence, crime, and instability, but the brutal conditions inside the Supermax prison are unlike anything they have ever experienced. One of the most insidious aspects of ADX Florence is the way it targets the mind as much as it targets the body. The lack of physical activity and stimulation can cause inmates to deteriorate mentally, while the endless hours of isolation wear away at their emotional and psychological resilience. Inmates spend their days in the confines of their cells, with little to occupy their time except for the occasional book, or a few minutes spent exercising in the small, steel-enclosed cages of the prison yard. The noise of the world outside, the sounds of children playing, the chatter of friends, the hum of the busy streets is replaced by the constant hum of fluorescent lights and the distant echoes of guards patrolling the hallways. Each inmate cell is equipped with a small, uncomfortable bed, a toilet, and a desk. No luxuries, no comforts, only the barest essentials. The air is dry and stale, and the oppressive weight of silence hangs in the air like a fog. The only real connection that many prisoners have to the outside world is through the letters and packages that they receive. For those fortunate enough to have family or legal representatives who still care, These letters are a lifeline to the outside world. Yet even these connections are tightly controlled, with all incoming and outgoing mail thoroughly screened. Any correspondence deemed inappropriate, whether political, religious, or otherwise, can be intercepted and blocked, leaving the inmate with nothing but the hollow silence of his own existence. The most notorious criminals in the world, such as Ted Kaczynski, are isolated in this unrelenting environment, and it becomes a place where even the strongest minds can unravel under the strain. The fact that inmates are held in complete isolation is a defining feature of ADX Florence. The psychological effects of solitary confinement are well documented, and experts have warned of the profound toll that long-term isolation can take on a person's mind and body. Yet, for the most dangerous criminals, this punishment is seen as necessary, as a means of preventing them from causing harm to others, whether through violence, manipulation, or escape attempts. However, this form of incarceration is not without controversy. Human rights groups have raised concerns about the ethics of such extreme isolation, arguing that the conditions at ADX Florence amount to cruel and unusual punishment. The psychological damage inflicted on prisoners, they argue, is not only inhumane but also counterproductive, as it often exacerbates the very behavior the prison system is attempting to eliminate. Some critics claim that the facility is less about rehabilitation and more about retribution, a place where the state exacts its own form of justice on those who have committed unforgivable crimes. Despite these concerns, ADX Florence continues to operate as one of the most feared and secretive institutions in the American penal system. The stories of those who have been sent there, many of whom were once considered among the most dangerous men in the world, serve as a stark reminder of the lengths to which the United States will go to maintain control over its most violent offenders. ADX Florence is not just a prison, it is a symbol of the nation's commitment to keeping its worst criminals locked away, never to be seen or heard from again. Life inside ADX Florence is a daily struggle for survival, not just against the external forces of the prison system, but also against the forces within the mind. As the years drag on, the inmates of ADX Florence are left to confront their own demons, as the endless days of solitude weigh on their souls. For many, the prison is not just a place where they are held against their will, but a place where their very humanity is stripped away, one day at a time. In this brutal environment, where time is meaningless and contact with the outside world is a distant memory, the question arises, what does it mean to truly be free? As the years drag on, the lives of the men imprisoned at ADX Florence grow more and more detached from the world outside. Many of them were once prominent figures, criminal masterminds, terrorists, organized crime figures, but now they are reduced to shadows of their former selves. No longer do they have access to the comforts of a world outside their cell. No more luxury of choice. No moments of freedom. For the men at ADX Florence, freedom exists only in memories, fading with each passing day. The absence of human contact at ADX Florence is perhaps its most harrowing aspect. Inmates, even those who once had a significant presence in the world, are now stripped of their ability to communicate. No conversations in the yard, no whispers exchanged between cells, no fleeting interactions to remind them that they are human. In a place where everyone is kept apart, the sense of isolation becomes total. For many, this isolation feels like a slow form of death, slow because it doesn't kill the body, but it starves the soul. Over time, the inability to connect with others transforms into a yearning so deep, so profound, that it becomes a kind of madness. Some inmates attempt to keep their minds sharp by reading, writing, or drawing, but these activities provide little solace. The monotony of prison life at ADX Florence is crushing. There is nothing new to stimulate the senses. No laughter, no music, no voices, except the cold commands of the guards. Even for those who manage to maintain some semblance of clarity, the weight of the silence can feel unbearable. The constant surveillance, the ever-watchful eyes of cameras and guards reminds them that they are not just isolated from the outside world, but under constant scrutiny. Even the smallest mistake, the slightest deviation from behavior, can be punished. Prisoners who lash out or show signs of psychological distress are often placed in even harsher conditions. But there is another reality at play in the depths of ADX Florence. Some inmates come to terms with their fate. While many wither in isolation, others simply accept that this is their life now, that they will never again walk in the sun or feel the breeze of fresh air on their skin. For these men, a kind of cold acceptance settles in. It's not peace, not hope, but a resignation that perhaps only the harshest conditions could bring. They are like the walking dead, alive in body, but with no belief in the possibility of life beyond these walls. But even as we confront the cruelty of the system, there's a deeper ethical question that must be asked. Are we, as a society, doing enough to address the root causes of crime? Or are we simply building prisons to lock away the symptoms of a broken society? Can we ever truly rehabilitate someone when we refuse to allow them any semblance of human connection, when we isolate them completely from the world? The very nature of ADX Florence challenges the idea of redemption. Is anyone truly beyond help? Or does the system simply give up on the possibility of change? If you found this video thought-provoking, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe for more deep dives into the world of the criminal justice system and its most extreme institutions. And if you're interested in exploring this topic further, be sure to check out the additional links in the description for related content. Thank you for watching, and as always, stay curious.